Welcome to You're Grounded. I think language, communication, and translating thoughts to one another through our own perceived experiences is one of our greatest gifts and tools as human beings. Join us every episode and eavesdrop on what we're connecting on, and hopefully our chats can inspire you and your friends' conversations, and at the very least, make you feel more grounded. I'm so grateful to share this conversation with you. So today we have a very good friend of mine, and a friend of mine who I've known for over 10 years. Surprise, we love those on here. But Miss Julie and we met in college a long time ago, and also just before we even get started, we were in the city of Oakland. So if you hear any background noise,
welcome.
We're in a city,
Welcome to
and we're doing our best. And please forgive us. And of course, there wasn't any motorbikes until immediately right now, and we started recording. So thank you, Oakland. We really appreciate you.
International Boulevard.
So we're doing our best. We're just going to precursor that. But before we get started, we're not in a studio. We just do this.
Yeah.
We do the damn thing. So here we are, keeping it real. But Julie and I met many moons ago in a little place called Boise, Idaho.
Special little place.
Yes! And we went to Boise State together in college. We didn't meet in the dorm, shockingly.
Right.
But we were the same
ironic.
year and everything. I had so many mutual friends, and naturally through just socialization, the power of the universe, or drawn together. Cafe LA, if you know, you know. We were just drawn together through our shenanigans, and it's so cool. And I think something that everyone can speak to in their evolution of friendships is what drew us together initially, and how we've evolved as two independent, strong women in the last 10 years, and how much our values have remained parallel, and how much we've grown and evolved and see each other develop into our individualities and really just blossom and have whole different things that keep us tied together as friends.
Yes.
And it's so funny, like you meet people at all different seasons of your life, whether it be when you're little, when you're in college, when you're a young adult, when you're a mother. There's all these different reasons why people are drawn to each other for different phases of their lives, and keeping connected through all those times is something really unique and special. So
yes,
I always cherish my long-term friendships, but there's always so many more to come, and it's just really exciting to know that Julie is someone that, case in point, I'm here visiting you in your hometown. We love to come still visit each other. We always make it work. We always stay in contact, and I really cherish your friendship for that reason.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to have you on today.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for, we could record a whole podcast about
our love for
each
each other.
But, we'll give the people a break.
Yeah, God forbid,
But really, I'm so grateful for, just the way, I feel like when we were in college, we were good friends, but I feel like our friendship has evolved even since then, which is really unique and special because we haven't lived in the same place since then, but like you said, we've just always made it work. Yes. And so, I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful you're here.
Me too.
And I just, I feel like this is such a, we have talked so much about, just, over the years, years, I think it's fair to say, a couple of years of you, starting this podcast, and here we are, baby.
Here we are.
So, it's amazing.
Even was it over a year ago, maybe, when I was here for Outside Lands?
Yeah, it was last
almost
October.
A year ago.
Mm-hmm.
You gave me an early birthday present of some crystals, and they all had specific manifestation or powers, whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
For my podcast, and it was literally the most intentional, sweetest gift of all time. I'm so lucky. I the gift giving and gift receiving love language, but truly that was so special to me, and I'll never forget it. And it was in this very apartment where we're recording, so it is very, very serendipitous.
Yes.
And I also feel like that in and of itself is something that can really just define you as a person, Julie, because you're one of the most intentional, kind-hearted, just do-gooders, caring more than anyone I know people. And part of that's because you're a lovely little cancer baby. Cancer.
Am I gonna cry on this podcast? Not out of the question.
2 water signs, it's not off the table. But yeah, I love Julie, and she's genuinely someone that was put on this earth to be someone who can be vocal and care about others more than they can be comfortable caring about themselves. And so you are that channel of person who is so caring and so intentional and so passionate that I just feel like anyone who gets to have love from you is so lucky.
Oh my God. I should be taking notes and writing these all in my journal. We'll be doing when we listen back. These affirmations we live.
Yes. And that's something you give me all the time too. We love each other. We support each other as much as a friendship can. So
yes,
that's like one of the many numerous reasons why I wanted to have her on. Is A, she's such a good friend of mine, but she's so caring and just like such a warm spirit. I wanted to have people be able to witness and observe. So glad you're here.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you, Bex. And obviously, like, we all surround ourselves with people that we have things in common with. So, like, I could be saying all these things about you and it would also be true. Yeah, so just all you plus one, you know?
You're so sweet. You're so kind. And we have a lot of good things in common. Foodies, adventures, always down for... we're going to a Nelly concert tonight.
Thank you.
So, like, if that does not describe the energy that has not changed since college. I mean, we've developed this friend since college, but one thing that has not changed is the love for 2010s
hip-hop. Thank you. We're down for a good time.
Thank you. Down to clown. It's down to bust down Tatiana.
And also, not only is it Nelly, but it's also Ja Rule.
Thank you.
Ashanti. Lil Jon. And can we just be so blessed by the fact that we're going to see the yin
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Yin yang. Thank you. Oh my God. So yeah, that summarizes us. Like all the deep, mushy, gushy love and care, and then yin yang twins.
So thank you.
Oh, but
the tequila's on chill.
Yeah, it's on chill. It's on deck. As soon as we're done with this, diving right into a whole other dimension. Oh my gosh. But I'm so glad to have you on because you embody so many incredible things, but part of the reason that I think you're a portal of someone who can just care and vocalize for others is your intentionality and passion driven behind community care. And you helped me come up with this topic today, which I loved so much because I was like, yeah, that's you. We're doing that.
Here we are.
But the idea of community care, the idea of taking care of each other, the idea of living externally in service and not also in conjunction with also self-care. And that's like the interesting realm of world that we have and that we live in. I'd say especially within like the past 5 years, self-care has become such a like hot topic, hot word, like trending word. And I really just want you to kind of like elaborate what you think about the definition of like community care versus self-care and or how those two overlap, like a Venn diagram, because it's always how my brain works.
The Venn diagram, always.
Such a core.
The visual.
Such a core visual.
Maslow's. Yeah, so like you said, like I feel like self-care, like as a concept, right, and as even like an industry almost, has like gained so much momentum in recent years, which is beautiful and amazing. And I also think sometimes I like feel like leaning into community care and like taking care of each other and allowing ourselves to be taken care of in community is so like important for us to remember too, because you know, like as individuals we only have so much power, and so really being willing to lean into our communities, be that our friends, our family, you know, strangers, like people at our workout studios, like our literal neighbors, like everything that makes up our communities, and thinking about that in like a broad term, right, a broad idea, and just being willing to, like I said, not only support each other, but also being willing to like accept that support from our communities, because I feel like I said, self-care is like so important. I engage in so many self-care like rituals. I, you know, work really hard to take good care of myself. And also like, there's only so much that we can do by ourselves. And I feel like in our society, like we, like individualism is this like rugged concept, right? It's like, oh, you like, I don't know. And I just feel like it can be kind of dangerous sometimes. And so, I've been really thinking a lot about community care, what it takes, what it means to accept care from others and what it means to care for people that I like see, you know?
Yeah.
And I do really feel like living in Oakland has helped me think about that in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it ties into your actual like work, like your paying work, but also just your work or lifestyle or service here on this planet during this lifetime. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not only just your intention when you're on the clock, it's your intention at all times. Yeah. But I always think about that is, you know, we truly just like, it's so funny how nowadays people are just like so self-centered, and not in the way of like they're selfish, but we don't really interact with our neighbors. We don't really like help one another out in public, or it almost feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
By nature, it almost feels uncomfortable is the word that comes to mind, to go out of your way to like help someone. Like, oh, if they like drop something, I'll like go and reach and pick it up, or hold the door open, or like just those little gestures are on the smallest end of the spectrum to like even greater grand spectrum, like intentionality, like multiple people's energies, like helping the greater collective, you know, like intentional drives or fundraisers, you know what I mean? Like there's can be a whole spectrum of how we can all lean on and help one another. It can be free, it can be intentional, it can be monetizable. There's so many ways that we can all help. And I'll let you get into your specifics, but I feel like, yeah, it's so normalized to just, gosh, allow people to suffer, such a hard word, but allow people to almost like suffer and not get involved than it is to just lend a helping hand. And I feel like if you want to think about it evolutionarily, like we were all in tribes, groups, whatever you want to call them. Societally, we were all meant to care collectively, and we have so far removed over time, and especially in our generation's lifetime, to living solely independently, which is empowering on one sense, that we can do so much just as individuals in this day and age, as far as just taking care of ourselves. But our brain chemistry is also not wired to be alone, to be self-sustaining, to not have a sense of community. And community doesn't just mean people outside of your friends and family. Those are part of your community as well. So yeah, I think it's really interesting how our brains aren't ever meant to have us just be so isolated and alone. And also societally, we were never meant to not collectively all work together. And it kind of like just goes to show in every city I've ever been to, the separation of classes, like the separation of just care for one another. I just think about it even just like going to the grocery store or going to the bank, and people just being very to themselves. And to be fair, like there's emotional intelligence always in every human interaction of when and when to not interact, but it almost seems like it, like I said, coming back to it, almost feels uncomfortable to want to like go out of your way to help someone, when innately we suppress that. Like it almost, we probably do want to, or people do want to help us more than we like to think, but they almost just like, they're like, oh, never mind, you know what I mean? They just kind of brush it off.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's why I feel like community care has kind of lost its formality or like normalization.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do feel like, I told Becca before we started recording, I was like, so I can guarantee that I'm gonna like jump on my anti-capitalist bandwagon, and here we are. I feel like it's literally a tool of capitalism. Like it's literally a tool of capitalism to like force us, or try to force us to just like be, you know, to be in our own little squares and not take care of each other, because there's so much power in taking care of each other.
Yeah, and collectively
that it's like this fear of like, oh, if the people come together, we might be in danger. So let's like, you know, keep them in their little squares. Like I feel like it's very much so a tool, a tactic, you know. And so to like resist that by taking care of each other, and like you said, in big and small ways. Like I had an interaction the other day. I live, like we mentioned, I live in Oakland, and for anybody who's been to Oakland, there's a lake like in the middle of the town called Lake Merritt. And I live just a few blocks from it, which is so, I like feel so blessed that I live so close to water. My little water sign soul is so grateful. Yes. But the other day I was like going for a walk around Lake Merritt, and like being outside, I feel like, okay, I can take my mask off. Like, okay, this feels safe. So I've like been trying so hard to like smile at strangers more. Yes. Because it feels so good.
For a long time.
It literally feels so good to have that uncovered, and to be able to just be able to smile at each other. Like the human connection. Yes. And so I was walking the other day and I like smiled at this person and they like looked at me and they said, "Thank you for that smile. That just turned me around." They were like, "I was spiraling in my mind and your smile just brought me out of that." Like, what? Like,
It's that simple.
it's truly that simple. Like,
and
that is a way
smiles
of
are a
taking care of
reason we
each other.
communicate with non-verbally for a reason. Like, there are all these ways that we subconsciously can interact and just care for one another that we don't even know are A, fucking free,
right?
and B, just so attainable.
So attainable. Like, and I just affirmed that person. I was like, you know, when I'm spiraling, like, being grounded helps. And I was like, "You're here. Like, you're here." Like, I was just reminding them, like, that you're here, you're grounded, like, you're okay. You know, I don't know this person, so I can't really be like,
attuned to what they're
"You're
going
okay,
through.
everything's gonna be fine." Like, I don't know that. I do not know what they're going through. But, you know, just like help, like, literally just a smile. Like, and that person is part of my community. It's a person that I'll probably never see again. Or if I did, I wouldn't know, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't recognize them. But, like, yeah, just that small way of taking care of each other. And like you said, it goes beyond that, too. Like, and I feel really lucky that, like, I feel like my, like, purpose on this earth, I do get to exercise in my job.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, I'm, like, I feel like nutshell version that I describe it is I'm like a life coach for college students, for first generation college students. Although I should probably stop saying that because I'm like not a certified life coach. So probably a better way to describe it is I'm like an academic and wellness coach for students who are first in their family to go to college.
Yes.
And so yeah, I just feel so fortunate that like my call, what I feel like is like my calling and purpose on this earth, like I get to exercise, like you said, not only in my job, but then also in like ways that I try to contribute to my community by volunteering and things like that.
Yeah. Like I said, Julie's a giver.
We're just trying to take care of each other, okay?
She's doing where you're lacking, she's compensating. I feel that way as her best friend, let alone the communal collective of the universe. She is giving so much. So we're all contributing in our own ways as best we can, but you are above and beyond. And I so admire that about you. It's your biggest strength, like I said. So I wouldn't have said that in the intro but now you've given the context. So yes, it's in your line of work, it's in your passionate. And I think something really special about you and people like you is that you're inspiring so many people, because people might feel, like I said, that urge of like, oh, it would be uncomfortable if I did that. Like, oh, I'm going to hold back. But if anyone is witnessing you because they know you or on social media or just passing by you as a stranger, like you might inspire them to normalize those kind of things. And so I think that is something that hopefully this podcast can do. You know, they can hear like your passion through this motion and this topic and be able to think like, yeah, that is normal. Why am I not doing that? Why am I not? Yeah. And having those questions of, you know, why am I not helping more towards my community, and why do I feel like it's not worth my time? And have those challenging questions to yourself of why do I feel like it would be weird to help someone who I see struggling.
Right.
Because we're also people who struggle, and all of us. That doesn't
absolutely.
just because we might be helping doesn't mean we also have our moments of struggle.
Yeah, I think that a question that I constantly try to ask myself is like, how can I be doing more? And that can mean so many things, right? Like maybe that means, you know, supporting one of your coworkers in a different way. Or maybe that means like, donating to an organization. Or maybe that means, like, it can mean so many things, but I do feel like that's a question that I ask myself often is like, how can I be doing more? And like, of course, I respect where everybody is at in their community care journey. And yes. I think that is a question that there's room for all of us to ask ourselves more. And like, particularly like, I have a lot of privilege in my life, like, just by way of the identities that I hold. And so like, I also feel like there's a sense of like responsibility for me to like use that privilege in ways that I hope make an impact, whether that's for one person or for many people. Yeah. A question that I constantly or consistently ask myself is, how can I be doing more?
Yes. And that is literally inspiring. Literally that. How can you do more? Asking those self-questions and self-reflections, and just, where do you feel uncomfortable? Where do you feel like someone is less than you? Where do you feel like you're more than someone? All those very uncomfortable topics, especially for people like you and me of privilege, to be able to be like, yeah, where is my responsibility to help the greater collective? Because everyone should have equal opportunity in this world to achieve the things that they want to do and desire. That's just, it's literally like all that our purposes on this earth.
Yeah.
Is to be joyful and do things that make us happy.
Literally. Like,
That is,
I want that for all of us.
Yes.
Like joy and dignity and yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just think it's interesting to be able to have that self-reflection of, like you said, where you are in the journey, because we also don't need to tier like, oh, you're giving more because you can give $1 million to a foundation,
Right.
than someone who also can smile to someone on the street. Like,
Right.
all those things matter.
Yes.
And whatever capacity you are able to give matters.
Yes.
It does not mean that it is any sort of non-value if it is not grand.
Yes.
So
1000%.
all of those things matter, and all those things add to the greater positive collective as a society, as a county, as a city, as a state, as a country, as a world, as a universe. Like, all of those things momentously add up upon one another. And
yes.
if anybody is feeling in a place of doom, I think I might have touched on this in one of the other podcasts I recorded this week, but just those thoughts of like, oh, there's so much, negative vibrational energy, it feels like, in the universe in this time, in our world, in our news, whatever news you follow or whatever, just
Right.
like reality in our world.
Yeah, just existing. Kind of exhausting.
It's very exhausting, A, but B, that might think, oh, what the heck is the point of even doing anything about it then? It's very easy to take that path of what's the point then? And that's very dark, because that can mean a lot of different depths of things to different people. But if you also consider it like, okay, my one little action isn't really going to change the world and make all this doom go away, you're actually wrong. Because all of those individuals, think about like the extreme hypothetical. If every single person in your community that surrounded you took the time to set differences aside and help one another, that collectively is adding to changing any sort of negative component. Like, that's vibrating. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's so hard to put it into words, but if you can imagine a world where we all were coexisting and helping one another to be all in equal access, happier people, giving people things that they just, basic needs, desires, joys to do what they want to do, and everybody had the availability to function at just what made them happy and not obligatory,
Yes.
none of the problems that we have would exist.
Right.
So that's obviously like a very utopian.
Well, some of them might. But.
Yeah, a utopian thing to imagine, but that's the extreme. Is like, yeah, so your collective energy, even individual, and even just you having this conversation with your friends and inspiring them to do more and challenging them to do more is all adding to the greater collective.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I agree wholeheartedly. Like, there is only so much that us as individuals can do to like make our world a better place, because there are like, corporations and billionaires that are doing a lot more harm than like any of us individually might. And also, I do believe that we have like an individual responsibility, like to like do our part, right? To do our part. Like, we're all a piece of this universal puzzle, and like to just do our part. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's so true. I think we've talked a lot about like the community care aspect, but also, like I said, the coexisting of that self-care that is such a hot topic, but you also can't give unless you nurture yourself.
Definitely.
Too. And that's where if your I like how we have this term, community care journey
Yeah.
is not anywhere even started yet, that's okay.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that too. And if you're still just figuring out like why you feel triggered by certain things, or why you feel like you can't give, or why you feel like you're lacking, that's where you need to just inwardly turn and have that focus of like, how can I care for myself to be able to want to be that person in society, be that person that can help others, be that person that feels worthy of giving, be that person that feels worthy of receiving.
Yes.
Because even if you feel pretty positive about, taking care of yourself, you're getting enough sleep, all the stereotypical things, taking care of your hygiene, your health, your diet, whatever self-care means to you, because there's no definition. If you are taking care of those things and you still feel like you can't give outwardly, self-care is also just self-work.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be something external. Self-care can also be internally, being like, let me just sit with these thoughts of how can I understand and not be passive-aggressive or microaggressive towards somebody to think that they don't deserve exactly what I deserve.
Yeah.
And having that just thought of, okay, if I can love myself and think that everybody else deserves the exact same joy that I am allowed to experience, how can I make that happen?
Right. Yeah.
And that can be so minimal. That can be so maximal. Like, it really is the sky's the limit for whatever you want to do and whatever you want to be able to do and help others. And
definitely.
Again, like I said, I will reiterate, it does not matter how grand the gesture.
Right.
If you're just doing anything weekly even of interacting with a stranger or helping a community or helping a group, like, that goes so many more miles than you probably think it does.
Yeah.
Like you said, that stranger, you
Yes.
stopped their spiral
Yeah.
just from walking.
Right.
You were literally done. That didn't even take any
just mask off,
planning
smiling,
or
baby.
effort. Mask off, smiling, doing you little beaming light of joy. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think that I definitely agree. I think that so much of like our self-work, right, is really examining our own beliefs and getting to the root of, do I believe this because I believe this, or do I believe this because I've been taught by whatever other people in my life or forces in my life to believe this, right? And so one thing that I tell my students pretty often is asking for help and seeking support takes so much courage.
Yes.
Like, I feel like so often we frame like needing help as like a weakness.
Yes.
But in reality, being willing to seek support and accept support is so courageous.
Yeah. And gonna get you so much further than again you could on your own.
And to know your strengths and to know your areas
faults,
where like, okay, this is an area of opportunity for me. Like,
yes.
A lot of times I'm talking about it with them in the academic context of like, okay, so like biology is not your best subject. So how can you like seek support from people who biology is their best subject, right?
Yeah. Me with math.
I got you.
I'm like, definitely need an accountant. Can't do that myself. Yes. Like and that's what's so cool about humans is that we all have our own strengths. So like if we all work together, there is no weakness.
And that's the point of community, right? Like we literally all make up this bubble
of differences.
It's like we all have something to contribute.
Yes.
We all have our superpower.
Yes.
We all have our superpower to contribute.
Yes.
And if we are just willing to like accept support from other people's superpowers, like
that's powerful.
Okay.
But
Thank you. Yeah,
the bar is low. But not as low as the standards in Cafe LA. The bar is below Cafe LA.
In Cafe LA. But yes, I feel like there's so much courage in being willing to seek and accept help and support, like, and reframing that as a belief rather than seeing it as a weakness.
Shameful.
But like reframing it as like, no, this takes courage.
Oh my God.
For me to say I need help, like that's such an act of courage.
Me hoping adults can reframe that and the future children of tomorrow are being taught that. We need that.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Like asking for help is a strong suit, not a weakness. Because as much as we want to contribute and help ourselves so we can help others, we're always going to need help. No one is not above that. No one is above that. You know what I mean? Like we're all gonna need help. Like even the most powerful people in the world, like you said, mention them they still need help. Like they can't do it all themselves. And someone who is, like without a home also needs help. Like those are stereotypical things we can think of, but even if you're living nice, you still need help.
All the things.
It doesn't matter about your like socioeconomic status. It's like we all need help with fostering our emotions, having a place to vent, having a place to feel encouraged and congratulated, having a place to feel celebrated, having a place to feel just listened to and not given advice, having a place to just have community and like people who are like you that make you feel seen and heard and valued. You know what I mean? Like whatever those spaces are that you put yourself in, think, how can I also give this back to someone who doesn't feel like they have that space?
Yeah,
that's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I love it.
Gotta take care of each other.
Come on, community.
We gotta take care of ourselves, but we gotta take care of each other. Like it's all so necessary.
It all needs to coexist on that Venn diagram. The overlap needs to be large.
There
it needs to be very much
a circle. Who we're taking care of? Ourselves, each other,
all
circle.
Together.
A circle of the Venn diagram.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad it just like flew by.
Literally, like me looking at the thing, I'm like, wow,
look
at her go.
Oh my gosh. But we'll go ahead and wrap up with, I love that you already dropped the superpower word. So Julie, what do you think your superpower is?
The number of times I've thought about this, like I feel like I've been studying for an exam, like ready for these questions.
I'm like, pencils down,
girls. Like, she's ready. But I really do feel like my superpower, like I was telling Becca, you know, the number of different angles that I've thought about this question from, like, what does that mean? Like, how do I think about this? And I've thought about it. The angle that I landed on, I think, is like, not necessarily like what's a trait that I possess that nobody else does, right? But like what's a trait or a characteristic that I possess that's maybe like elevated from like the average human. And I do feel like it's my compassion.
Yes.
Which like I think ties in with our like topic. Yes. Like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it really gets the best of me. Like sometimes she's overly compassionate.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword.
Okay, we're working on balance.
Yes.
We're working on boundaries.
Yes.
But yes, I do feel like, you know, the level of compassion that I hold for others and that I've been giving myself more permission to hold for myself too is something that I really love about myself.
Yes. Also, Julia's a very unique friend of mine. I'm going on a tangent, what I should have had in the beginning, but it doesn't matter when it happens, it still matters, is you are someone who I can relate to in so many unique and specific ways compared to anyone else in my life. And I feel like you specifically, I think we like to, you know, bounce like flubber off one another, that we literally can acknowledge the things we love about ourselves and show so much self-love, and then also love and compassion towards one another in our friendship. And I wish that was so normalized for so many more people, because I'm so lucky to have a friend like you who sees me as deeply as I see you.
Yes.
So I truly mean that. Like, you're so compassionate, and that would be the one word I'd use to describe you. So I'm so glad you came out with it yourself as your superpower. So it's so true about you, and like I just really just love that about you. Like, you're literally so compassionate, you are so caring, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know?
Thank you, yeah. And I do feel like it's
okay to love yourself too.
Yes,
know your strengths.
Absolutely. And like I know one of your most recent episodes, you were talking a lot about ego, and I think that like ego, like we can love ourselves without it being like egotistical, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's okay to say like I love this about myself. Like
normalize
really
needing help and also loving things about yourself.
Hello? Like we are all like to know our own superpowers and to know what we contribute to our
and
communities.
to know where we also lack so we can get help.
Yes, all of that. Like it all feeds into the self-awareness we love.
Thank you.
But I do feel like compassion is like I know that I can't ever fully understand somebody else's lived experience, right?
Absolutely.
Like that the only lived experience that I can fully understand is my own. But to have a level of compassion for each other and to see like, okay, my experiences have been different from this person's, and to do like, I just feel like compassion is really a tool of like progress. We can't like progress as a society, as a people, as a universe without being able to see ourselves in each other.
Yeah, and see our experience not just as our experience only.
Yeah.
Like we need to see the life of lens through others.
Yeah.
The lens of life through others.
Yeah.
But be able to like imagine and have compassion and empathy for people and their lived experiences and their truth, even if we haven't lived them ourselves. And that I think takes a lot of just like humbling and awareness. But a lot of people I feel like are really good at suppressing and not capacitating. So
yeah, definitely.
I agree.
Compassion is a tool of progress,
and we need it.
A lot.
Thank you.
We need it.
Oh my gosh. And then last but not least, what does Miss Julie like to do to stay grounded?
Love this question, and also the irony of what this answer is about to be.
I can't wait. Oh my god.
All this talking about community care, and then me being like, well, what I do to stay grounded is spend time by myself.
It's the act of self-care before community care for me.
It's the balance. Like, I am an introverted little baby. Like I need time to myself. Like I need time with my thoughts. So oftentimes me taking care of myself is or to stay, oftentimes me grounding myself
Yeah.
is spending time by myself, and like spending time by myself doing things like journaling, spending time in nature. That's a really important grounding exercise for me. I would say those are probably my two like most specific tactics are journaling and spending time in nature, but yeah, just spending time by myself.
I love that. I love how connected you are with the things that bring you joy and the things that help you feel centered and grounded, and you're so attuned to those. Like, I asked everybody that question, but I feel like definitely you more than most people have that answer to a T because you've practiced it to a place where it's chef's kiss.
This emoji.
The fingers.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And I think that, yeah, like I agree with that. It's taken me a long time to get to a place of knowing what I need and to
there's so much beauty in that.
Yeah. And like, I have committed to myself, like, I know one of your other most recent episodes talked a little bit about like building trust with yourself. And so I've made this commitment to myself to do at least one thing every day that takes care of me. And sometimes that means like, it means something different every day. Sometimes it's like I literally have 5 minutes to like read at night before bed, or sometimes it's like I go on a miles-long hike by myself,
Or
like,
sometimes it's committing to the workout class you scheduled and not canceling, or it's doing the dishes because that would it'd make your life easier for yourself if you can commit to doing it. Like all those little ways add up.
That's a good point too. Like doing the hard things too. I could go on a tangent about how I'm having to get braces soon, which I'm like really dreading. But I know it's me taking care of myself, so doing the
hard things.
Yeah. Do the hard things. The random drop of 30 single something getting braces.
And if that's not a way to round this thing out, I don't know what it is.
Shout out to all the dentists over the past 10 years that have told me I needed them.
We appreciate you.
Here we are.
You're doing community care.
Okay.
Making that smile even better, to smile at strangers and make them stop spiraling. Thank you.
But is it going to be better? I mean, I feel like it's beautiful already.
I mean, it's already changing lives as is, so I'm a little scared of its potential. Oh my gosh. So we'll round this thing out, but I know that, we kind of came up with this topic today with a little bit of inspiration, and obviously you are the way you are, but it was slightly influenced by a multitude of things.
Totally.
And I think you said that this book kind of gave us kind of the, springboard platform of kind of today's topic. So go ahead and share it.
Yes, I feel like reading this book. So Bell Hooks, she's like a iconic Black feminist writer. And one of her books is called All About Love. And I feel like this book, when I read it, like it was so much of what I already believed and felt, but was challenged to like put into words. Like, why do I feel this responsibility and this pull and this investment in taking care of my community and like contributing in all these ways that I possibly can and using my privilege in the best ways that I can, while also knowing I'm going to make mistakes, and gratitude to all the people who have done so much to teach me. But yeah, this book just like put into words about, so like I said, the book is called All About Love, and basically, so Bell Hooks says, I'm going to read two kind of pieces. So one of the parts says, so this is just like in the introduction chapter. So she says, dictionary definitions of love tend to emphasize romantic love, defining love first and foremost as profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person, especially when based on sexual attraction. Of course, other definitions let the reader know one may have such feelings within a context that is not sexual. However, deep affection does not really adequately describe love's meaning. She goes on to define love as... She goes on to define love as, to truly love, we must learn to mix various ingredients: care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, and trust, as well as honest and open communication. And I feel like just giving verbiage to that. And she goes on to talk about like love as like a value rather than like a feeling that we have for each other. So yeah, all that to say, All About Love by Bell Hooks, highly recommend. It really helped me put verbiage and just like specificity to this feeling that I've had of like why I see the importance of taking care of each other,
love
because
for
it's
one another
coming from a
as
place
humans.
of love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like some people would be uncomfortable with saying like, yes, I love my neighbor, but I mean, like, I don't mean that I love my neighbor and that like I want to kiss them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if they're cute, but like, I mean it, like, I love them, I care for them, I respect them, I want them to live a life of dignity and joy and all of these things, right? And so to like truly love each other, whether we know each other or not, like, the power.
That's the basic.
The power
That's
she has.
literally the foundation.
Shout out to Bell Hooks, always and forever.
Thank you for doing literally the work for us. Like, writing it in a way that is tangible to reframe our thoughts about just what it means to love one another.
Yes, yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
Well, I love you.
I love you. No, I love you.
Thank you for being on, Joy. It means
I love you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of You're Grounded. Make sure to share this episode if it resonated with you, and rate this podcast on whatever streaming platform you like to listen from. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. All social platforms are titled You're Grounded Pod. Until next time, stay grounded.